This episode is meant to act as a trailer episode as well as talk about the history of our podcast, channel, and more. Who we are, why we are, when we are, where. Actually, not that one. That would be doxing us. For an actual trailer, it will definitely need to be shorter than the usual 30 to 90-minute mark that we usually have our podcast episodes as. Maybe we get into behind the scenes editing talk, thumbnails. Heck, we could get crazy and talk about our mental health. Basically, talking about the us that relates to this channel.
So I guess we're all wondering, when did we meet and what grade we met? At least from what I remember we met in 7th grade, like at the beginning of it. Because like when in middle school, like there was teams for every grade, and like if I was just turning 13, you were like still like you're not even 12 yet. You were like 11.
Yeah, it's freaking like even now. Yeah, you're already 22, right?
Yep,
And
I am.
I'm I'm close to 21.
Yep. Yeah, there. You're like
So yeah, we always had that age difference, whether we knew each other at the time or not.
probably didn't know right away, but yeah, there's that age difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors when it comes to that sort of stuff. But to my knowledge, I think officially it was that 7th grade mark that we actually did first talk to each other and meet up or whatever. But it's not as if I didn't see you in the hallway or whatever, like in 6th grade. I remember seeing your face, just not knowing
Like
your
who I
face.
am.
Right, yeah. Um, ages, exactly like you said, it was probably that 11, 12, 13 month. I mean, maybe give or take a year. It's been a
Like
while, so
a year and 3 month difference.
yeah. My initial thought of you, at least in terms of back to 6th grade, whenever I didn't know you, if I'm going to be honest, my initial thought of you was basically, oh, it's that guy that I think is a little bit popular, though I don't understand why. Because it seemed like everybody was kind of like,
They just knew who I was, even if I didn't. If they didn't even know who I am, or they don't. They just knew who I am, even though they don't personally know me, right?
it was almost how I see it is I saw you as a popular kid that wasn't, you know, the number one popular
Yeah.
table, right?
Nope, I wasn't.
I saw you as like I saw you as the vice president table, not the president table, you know?
Oh, like one of those class presidents.
Yeah, essentially, right? Because like I always saw you basically with like an entourage sort of thing, and actually in 6th grade, I also kind of had an entourage, but a different type of one because my leg had basically been broken the summer before, so I had people coming after me, like, oh, I get to leave early if I help the broken leg kid, right?
I think that was like the first time I saw you. Was like you had like some kind of injury.
Yeah, I was crutching along. I had a broken leg, man.
Like I didn't know who you were, but I just remember. I think it was in the field house when I first saw you, and I was like, oh, I don't know who this is. Just some
Yeah,
kid that I don't know.
right. So I'm curious. I did tell you, but what were your initial thoughts of me?
I can't really pinpoint exactly, but I don't know. I guess I don't know. I was like, oh, some kid I could. I was like, I could probably make friends with him or something.
So
Like,
it's hard for you to pinpoint what you were
ex-
feeling back, what, 7 years ago or something?
10 years. It's like I don't like. I don't have the exact thought, but it's like, oh, that's. Hey, he seems cool. Uh,
That's it.
I don't. If I had to
I
at least
mean,
remember.
I guess you're not really that far off.
That's pretty much all I remember.
Okay, that's fine. There's obviously more you remember, but not at least that far back. I'm sure you at least remember
Like,
that it was.
I just don't know, like off the top of my head. Like,
Oh yeah, that's fine, but I'm pretty sure that you remember uh, that we basically met in that we met in that middle school, right?
yeah. Oh, I think I do remember. I remember we were on a field trip too when I actually first talked to you.
The fir I'm curious what you recall at least with being like the main interaction, because the one that I did, the one that I remember was I don't remember where we went,
It
but
was
I remember it was the game. It was like spaghetti hands or something, where everybody holds hands and you're trying to unweave. That's what I remember being like the first major like, oh, because guess what? My right hand was attached to yours for like that whole exercise. Um, so it's kind of weird. You're not the. It's kind of weird if I'm holding hands with someone and I don't at least say hi, right?
hmm Oh yeah, I think you remember that ropes trip we did in seventh grade.
Yes.
It was yeah, we did like outdoor activities and then we had like lunch in that little shack.
Oh God, that wooden shack, right?
Yeah, it was a wooden shack too. Yep.
I think we even made like, didn't we make boats too at that?
I I guess so.
Because I don't remember if it's that one or if it's a different trip that I went on, but I remember building like freaking ships. Mine was okay, but the only reason why it was okay was basically because I had the instructor do it for me.
So you didn't really do it then.
I did
I
I
mean,
did like 30%.
you had the thought of doing it. Right? At least that counts. The thought that counts.
Oh yeah, so back in middle school, right? Um yeah,
And
that was basically the time.
yep. And then I remember it wasn't until like eighth grade when we like first sat at lunch and like started goofing off.
Right, yeah, the eighth grade stuff. It was with I don't want to name names
But like
because I mean
we
this
could
guy, I
just
think this group of people might be potential guests on maybe an episode or two way off in the distance, but at least until then, let's just name them. All of their names are Bob.
just Bob.
Everyone is Bob, right?
Yep.
So Bob 1,
Bob 1, Bob 2, and Bob 3.
great, lovely. So
My
in eighth grade, I remember um, that I think eighth grade we weren't on the same team.
actually, well, you're on. It was. I was on. I'm not gonna. It starts with a G.
You could say the name of the team because
Hey,
that,
it's
that,
not like it's
that
not like no one's gonna track me down anyway. I was on gold team in eighth
yeah,
grade.
and I think at Sapphire
No, actually, you were on the same team too.
I
Actually,
was on gold too.
yeah, I have yearbooks to show you if we want me to.
Fair enough. I believe you though. I keep on getting texts and notifications, stuff like that. Well, we could move on to
The
maybe more standout memories if we have any.
oh, like when did we end up hanging out eventually?
Yeah, eventually it basically ended up just being like it was honestly just I think cafeteria stuff because I don't think at that point we had any real classes
Hmm.
really at the same time because I don't really count PE because it was like three classes in one room. I
Like
don't count that, but
Mr. S, Mr. L, and Mrs. M. I'm not gonna do the name. I'm not gonna say their full names.
it's Mr. Bob, Mr. Bob,
And Mrs. Bob.
right? So I was with Mr. Bob and you were with Mr. Bob,
Yep.
not to be confused with Mrs. Bob, right?
Nope.
Uh,
Yep. Oh no. Yeah, Mrs. Mrs. Barb. Yeah, I remember who that is. I remember who that is.
Oh, that's gonna get very confusing very quickly. But eventually, I think we ended up hanging out just because we tended to have like the same, like I think the same sport preferences. Because I'm sure you remember this, but I'll explain it for potential listeners if there are only one of you, or maybe 5 dozen, who knows? But how sometimes the gyms worked was sometimes we had these days, or sometimes two, three in a row, where everything was set up. You could have like half of the court was dedicated to a basketball thing. You had some nets up for like volleyballs and the badminton stuff. They had a Gaga pit. They had everything. They had everything at once, basically. Um, and sometimes they even divided it up as if it was like a great day outside, do outdoor activities with this teacher, and then the indoor guys can just stay indoors and do something like that. I think that was like our first time because I really liked badminton, but it didn't seem like anybody else was really there. And then out of nowhere, I just see red, this red hooligan waltzing up there, and you take a racket, and I think I destroy you, but we have fun, right?
It's all about how you play the game too.
Right, yeah. So
It's all about
it,
having fun.
badminton was like it was that, I guess, start bond, right? It,
Mm-hmm.
it, it was nice like that. So after that point, we eventually, did more activities whenever they did those. I'm going to call them field day, even though it's not a field day. But whenever they did that field day sort of thing, we did more badminton together, right? And then sometimes we would go to the pit. Sometimes we would do everything. But it did turn into the you and I hang out alongside Bob,
Yep.
not the teachers, but we
All the
hang out
other
with the
with
other
Bob,
Bob,
and Bob.
right? Um, Man, that's gonna get so confusing. I already said that, but
Yep.
yeah. So we basically cycled out and did things that way. Cut another year.
Let's see.
I'm going to ask you something. You take over this part because this is where my memory gets a little bit fuzzy. Of Was it in eighth or was it in a future year
Well,
that we eventually started watching a
watch.
little thing known as SML?
Oh, I think that was what I introduced. I remember I introduced you to that freshman year in high school.
That was high school. It wasn't eighth grade, right?
Nope. Well, even though like I started watching it out like in that summer between that, but
Okay, so at that point, I had no idea what it was,
oh,
and you set it up in 12th grade. So
oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, and then I was like, oh yeah, here's something funny. Shrek with his cheese. So I'm sure now any viewers of us are gonna know who we're talking about now.
I mean, I already said the abbreviations. I already said SML.
Yep. So
How hard is that one to look up?
no, I don't think at all.
So you saying Shrek's cheesecake doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's why I remember introducing you to that. I was like, oh, here's something funny. Shrek taking a dump after his cheesecake.
And yeah, we even got let's see, another Bob in on that action. So it was like for a while it was the three of us just watching this stuff.
Hmm.
Sometimes it was SML, sometimes it was not.
Oh yeah,
And
I remember.
it was just a lot of content that I haven't seen before.
Like you, um, I think I remember one of them also being YouTube poops.
Yeah, some of it was the poops,
That was
which, yeah, yeah. hate to say this, but actually, no, I don't really hate to say it because that's how you know we're evolving and growing, right? We saw that content and we wanted to basically copy it, mirror it. We started this whole endeavor by creating a Google account followed by a YouTube account called DomJake Studios.
Yep. Well.
That was the first name that we thought of, or that I thought of personally.
Hmm.
But we just went. We just went with it.
It was kind of, yeah, it was pretty much like our version of it. That was
It,
like
it
a,
was it was essentially that, right? So the next three basically years we end up because what SML is, if those of you who don't know, if there are anybody out there, for those of you who don't know, SML is basically this sketch scripted skit thing with plushes, stuffed animals, and sometimes people, right?
yep.
And some of them were goofy, silly. Some of them kind of got dark, creepy, and sometimes even sad. I can even I can say that safely. Um, who knows if that channel even exists or whatever.
Well,
But let's not actually go down that rabbit hole because we
I'm
could
not
go.
gonna get into that because that, if you want to find any more
That's
info, right?
that's other. That's maybe another conversation. Maybe we won't even have that conversation because it is sometimes a bummer. But
Well,
that
if anyone,
initially did inspire us.
yeah, well, if anyone's curious about it, look, you can probably do your own research.
Right. And I think there's a guy named Sea Dusk
Oh
who
yeah, yeah.
basically covers it, but
Oh,
that is all I will say. He covers like a lot of that stuff. Let's we can move on from that and just say that we were inspired by
yeah,
that type of content.
bunch of high school kids and like trying to kind of copy something.
Right. In addition to that, we also were inspired by, like the Let's Players, the PewDiePies, the Jacksepticeye's, the Markipliers, in specific the duo ones. So for me at that time, it was like the Game Grumps, right? The two people who were playing a game together, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do some gaming stuff, maybe React stuff, because reactions were so friggin' big back then. Still kind of are.
I mean, they
But
still are, but they're just, it's just,
they're less, there are less quality ones. I'm
well,
not saying that there were quality ones back then, but it's more so Hollywoodized now
it's just
than
like, or
just
the production's kind of gotten higher, I guess you could say.
right. So like the bar of entry is kind of higher, so it's harder to really just film yourself reacting to something. Well, so essentially it was like those three things plus a little bit of music talk and like music production or whatever. All was going to be on this channel that you're listening to now. But what ended up happening for the next 3 years was we were writing these scripts. We,
Okay.
we were writing these ideas, these jokes. Sometimes it ended up being like 5-page things. Sometimes it was only like a quarter of a page, maybe even just a line because we didn't finish or whatever.
Oh god, yeah. I'm just thinking about right now. I'm thinking about one I still want to do, and yeah,
But
I still have. There's like still one thing I still have to. If I'm gonna do that, I still have like to get like I made instrumentals for them on like on an iOS device, like but now
instrumentals, yeah.
and I have to because it's such an old iPad. I cannot I could have to figure out how to get them off of there because this iPad's like 11 years old.
Oh shoot! So I almost wonder if it's the same sort of thing that I have in my head. Because back then, which we honestly could do a reaction thing, but well, we could even spoil it if we end up doing this. We had this idea that was inspired by that same SML character. It was basically the Oreo O's commercial,
Oh yeah. You still have
which
the voiceover for that I did?
I think we have the finished thing technically in this Google Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, um, I feel like we need to redo it though, because I listened to it and it's like all of it was kind of trash, but that's a sign of growth. Um,
Yeah,
so,
well,
so
look at
yeah,
take a look at. Well, I'm gonna mention another channel, Smosh.
right, yeah,
They were just two dudes like goofing off, and now look what's happened to them.
oh sure, yeah. Mainly that's just because of you know that's a rabbit hole we don't need to get down it.
But we're not gonna. But I'm not gonna get any further than that because I don't want anyone in the comments going crazy.
Oh yeah, so eventually after like that 3 point, not 3 point, that 3 year period of basically grinding out different ideas and scripts and commercials and jokes and whatever the heck else. After that 3 year point, we kind of put a pin in it. So for the next 2 years or so after that, we were still pals, we were still playing games, and we were still texting and talking, but it wasn't really about this.
Oh, wow, it was like kind of like well after high school was kind of different, but we still talked.
Right, yeah. Like, we ended up putting a pin in this whole project idea just because maybe things were getting busy, maybe
Oh,
IRL stuff was happening, yeah, just a bunch of factors coming together. We just kind of stopped, and fizzled, and just exactly as I said, we just stopped. We would still, like I said, play games together, talk, sometimes meet up, but
like it went through.
it was the the DomJake Studios was essentially on a 2, maybe 3 year hiatus after that initial fire point, that raging fire, right? We kind of slowed it down. And it must have been that 2 or 3 years point when I basically shot you a text about it saying, maybe we don't do
Like
the
the
maybe
puppet.
we don't do the puppet or the plush idea. Maybe we move to animation
Mm. Like
because of the fact that in animation you could pretty much get away with a lot for essentially cheaper.
unless we do like some kind of Mary Poppins type thing. I mean, yeah, animation we'll have to do.
Right, right. Like in some aspects, some of those puppet series, it could work, but
Like,
most of the things that we have on this drive are either IRL or animation sort of things that would make it a lot better. So I shot you that text, and after a little bit of back and forth, we eventually did agree on let's change up the idea. I mean, we still have the ideas, as in like the scripts written out, but let's plan them for something else,
mm-hmm.
for an animation sort of thing. That I think was a crucial thing that, in my opinion, reinvigorated us. We, I don't want to speak for you, but at least I got so hyped again about potentially starting this thing. It's I think it's 6 years old, maybe 7 years old now, but we're finally actually using this for more than just memes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I did put some like video edits on this channel, but they're privated. They're just like for you or whatever, right?
Just for like private viewing.
Yeah, private viewing things, which who knows if we'll ever publicize them. I don't think we will, but
What about like one of those unlisted videos? You know, you always you have to like scan something and then like click like here's a private link, and then you can go to that video.
oh, I mean, we could maybe privatize it, but I don't think those ones are going to be public. So
Yeah.
currently they are private. Who knows? Maybe they will not be. Um, so yeah, what changes occurred from the start to where we are now with this
Well,
channel?
I could tell from like when we were first starting out, we were like excited about like, oh, we're gonna do this puppet series based on a channel that we still like, and then over time, as we, I don't know, got bored of it, whatever, and then I don't know, we went from writing all these scripts for this like series to now, hey, we're now doing this kind of thing, which hey, this is better than nothing,
Right, yeah. And
and
at generally that same time, we even had the idea, what if we put something on this channel for public? Like, so that's the idea that we had. I had the idea of maybe having a somewhat scripted podcast, which episode one was filmed technically like 8 months ago, but edited and released 7 months ago. It took me a while to get it going. I will be honest with that one. But another change occurred, like I think, in both of us, in that we saw the world a little bit for more that it actually is, right? I mean, in high school and before, none of us really thought of being a voter and having it count, or we
oh,
never really thought of bigger things than, oh,
oh, this,
Bob wore the same T-shirt as me last night or whatever. So today, Bob and I are trying to wear a different shirt. That's drama, right? Other than like Bob and Bobette. Oh, they
mhm.
broke up for the 15th time this week, right? Like
Oh,
that was our drama.
this is
It,
Bob and Bobette's third marriage.
well, not in high school, but well, we might have had one marriage in high school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe. I
Don't
think
quote us
it
on
was
that.
between. I think it was between Bob and Bob.
Bob and Bobette, maybe.
I don't think it was Bob and Bobette though. I think it was Bob and Bobette, right?
Maybe.
Or actually, maybe it just could have been Bob and Bob. Who knows? But mm, essentially, now I think we're a little bit more realistic in our ideas. We've started going through the old content and started deleting some things, maybe keeping some things and maybe reinventing them, changing them up, updating them. And we just decided to change things up mainly just because
Well,
we were getting older
but
and we
also,
were getting, we were actually gaining taste.
well, it's like we were writing these. Like, okay, we weren't really thinking about like the cost of like getting the. If we were to do puppets, we weren't really thinking much about the cost of them getting made or getting the materials to make them ourselves.
Shoot, yeah, I remember. I even wrote down like a checklist or something of every character. I mean, it's probably outdated, but every character that we had at a specific point, And that thing was like 1.5, I'm talking about like bullet points, 1.5 pages long of just different characters. Some of them we can maybe double on, but when it comes to animation, you don't need that. All you need to do is pay for the subscription and maybe pull up another monitor and just have like a reference or something. That's all you need. When it comes for that physical stuff is okay, we can make it. It'll take time to make it. It'll take money to buy it if we don't want to make it. And it just blows up in our face. So I think that was a part of why we just decided maybe slow down on it or change it or whatever the deal. I'll ask you this genuine reaction. Do you like where our channel is heading right now? At least at the start.
I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, at least I'm glad that at least we're not like having nothing on there. So like, while we have it where we have it right now, let's just keep it there, keep it that way, and then slowly like build up if we can, or when we can.
Right, and which I think we have been doing that at least a little bit better. We've been more consistent with just these episodes. We've recently had the idea, hey, what if we change up the thumbnail instead of it being just a black screen? And I think I have a knack for that thumbnail stuff and the logo stuff and the everything else stuff. I think I like that stuff. I guess we could move on to basically the now stuff. Actually, first, I'll also say I'm liking where our channel is right now. Obviously, I would like a little bit more, but that's being critical, right? We
Mm-hmm.
we are doing more consistency. It's kind of on me for the editing and releasing part because I am currently the editor, uploader. So whenever I don't have motivation, sometimes it gets late and delayed and stuff like that. Other than that, we have had the last 3 episodes. I think we even brought this up last time, but like the last 3 or 4 episodes were basically all within like a month or two, rather than like the first 2 episodes being 3 months apart or something. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously something that I would like to see improved, but where we're starting now that we're actually putting things out there into public eye, I'm a fan. So now we'll move on to the other thing. What inspired some of our podcast episodes? I'll take the ones that I did. So I have, let's see, I have the kingdoms episode. What if we ruled our kingdoms? How we would do it or whatever. Okay. I'll be honest with this one. I had that idea when I was going to do a podcast 5 years ago with somebody else. We ended up kind of fizzling out of it because multiple reasons that I am not comfortable yet putting out there. But we
Mm-hmm.
fizzled that out. And so I kind of vowed that if I was a part of a podcast, that was just a talky one, not something where it's like I have to talk about a specific thing or whatever. This type of scenario was perfect. I had that idea. I had that whole printout actually. I had that document basically done. I just copied and pasted it. And that was the first episode, other than the testing episode, just to work out the technology and stuff like that. But that is deleted. But that Kingdom one was inspired by me 5 years ago, and I just wanted to do it. Then this is testing me because I don't really know. I don't really know what we've done. Let's pull up that other thing. Uh, Another one that I did was the game, right? It was every letter had to be the start of the next sentence.
Yep, I remember that. And then
That broke your brain, and it kind of broke mine too, but not as much. Um, and then obviously this one was one of my idea ones, where we're just talking about this stuff.
It's almost like if a Q&A, but without it being the Q&A.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, because we are going off of talking points as if somebody else is asking us this. Um, so right now, I think this is the sixth episode now. I don't think it's the seventh because is it? Maybe it's the fifth. I don't know. The
Hmm.
next episode, I think I'll have my stuff together, but right now, as I'm recording this, I don't really know if this is the seventh, sixth, heck, even fifth. But
Well, apparently this document says it's the 7th.
that's why I'm saying. But I remember that we also recorded another episode that because the files glitched out, we couldn't we couldn't do.
Oh, I remember. I think I know which one you're
Which
talking about.
we're not going to say anything about that other than it was kind of a bummer that we didn't get to do it. But because of that one, I feel like our numbers have been a little bit off. So this one I think is six, even though it technically is seven. But like I don't know, episode four, the other episode four, I don't think is able to be released yet. So I think the numbers have been off by one on the document side, not on the video side. But so we did have I think three episodes like technically that we're not releasing. Two of them are like the testing things, and then the third one is an actual episode that just glitched out. And what were what was the inspiration for both of yours? The let's see, World of Taste and the Cat in the Hat rhyming thing.
Um, I think I just okay. I just thought, okay. I think the rhyming one was supposed to be like a follow up of of like the last one we did.
Yeah, like a continuation, sort of a spiritual successor of the word game where everything started with the last letter. But what you did was you just made it so every every line basically had to run with the last one, sort of. Like you always set it up, and I always had to knock them down, even though sometimes I did knock them down.
Pretty much.
And
Yeah. So,
then, in regards to A World of Food, how did that come about?
oh yeah, the World of Taste. Oh yeah, it was based off of something that I remember watching, which talked about the like some taste gel that's supposed to replicate certain foods, supposed to replicate like the taste of certain foods, and it kind of goes into detail about like I mean I'm gonna say this. Do you remember how TV's like there's always if you look closely at a screen you see like red, green, blue,
Right,
known as RGB, and then this kind of takes like a similar concept and kind of takes like certain areas kind of is like this is certain areas of the gel. It's supposed to be like this is sweet, this is sour, savory, and it's like I think it lights up in different colors.
right, all right. I get that.
And I was like, I could kind of bring awareness to this.
And awareness you brought to it, kind of.
Yeah.
But we ended up kind of derailing into just talking about other types of food. And actually,
And it kind
we
of brought.
introduced our first segment. It's not a daily or every episode segment, but we do plan on bringing it back for a taste trade part two, I guess. Not now. We're gonna do other things for now. But yeah, since we are kind of running up the clock here, want to do a speed round for like the remainder of this?
So the content we wanna eventually start, right?
Yeah, let's do the where it says talk about future plans for this channel.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I want to event. So in terms of gaming, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's gonna take certain. I'm gonna have to do like a certain setup, but yeah, we eventually would like to do some kind of gaming like gameplay, like those like videos you see on YouTube.
Oh yeah, definitely. Uh,
Yeah.
I think in terms of the gaming stuff, right, is since I already have a capture card, it's just not working 100%. I already test streamed on Twitch maybe like a few months back, and I mean like it works, but not how it's supposed to, I guess is the
Mhm.
best way that I can say. And I've watched endless videos, and none of them really go over the problem that I have. So, yeah, we do definitely plan on doing a little bit of the gaming stuff. We plan on doing a little bit of skits, whether live action, animated ones, maybe puppet stuff, but who knows
Well,
about that.
well, got some of the things in case we ever do want to, but
But yeah, we plan on doing like music content. At least me, I plan on using this platform as an opportunity to maybe make some music, analyze some already pre-existing music, maybe
oh,
participate in collaborations
oh
with
good.
other musicians.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of everything else, just any other projects that I feel would be beneficial with the main man Dom over here. Every other thing that I think would be beneficial with him, I want to do here. Some
Mhm.
things are going to be better off on a me channel, like just me, even though I don't think I plan on doing a lot of things personally, but I do have something in the background working on. And actually, let's go back to the podcast stuff, though. I think let's ask you this, just a yes or no, quick, like one sentence response. Are we going to have any guests on this podcast?
Yes, but when the time comes,
Perfect. I agree with that too. I already have some potential guests lined up, but it's one of those things where it's like it's adding a whole new uh, uh it's adding another person to the mix. So if it's already hard for you and I to get
uh,
recording, it might be also just as hard for another person to get into the mix. But we definitely do plan on having guests eventually, maybe soon, maybe a year down the line. Who knows? And we're definitely also planning on being guests in other places, if applicable. Obviously, right now we're starting out, but whenever we get grounded a little bit, I feel like we can maybe join a voice chat of a gamer or something, or we could join a podcast of
yeah,
somebody else being somebody who hasn't recorded something in a while. And I technically did record something with them, but it was deleted or glitched or something. But we definitely plan on being guests in other places, or at least I do. Are you
yeah,
fine with that as well?
I'd be fine with, yeah, with, I'd be fine with doing it with someone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're both fine with having guests on this channel as well as being guests on other channels because
Yep.
that's essentially what the world of YouTube is, right? We outreach, collab, make everybody's day better or whatever, right? And
Um,
we want to extend our branches to other trees, right? But maybe that's a bad analogy, but all right. Another speed round. Let's let's clue in some listeners of behind the scenes stuff. I think I could take that one because I essentially am
you pretty
the
much,
guy for the behind the scenes stuff. Since I'm the one who created the channel, basically did a logos, thumbnails, whatever. Descriptions. Our current channel description is something that has been bothering at least me for a little bit. I don't really know what we should have in our description because I don't necessarily know if we need social media. I don't necessarily know if we need to change the one that we currently have. Or maybe we could even keep it, but I mean, I think we should change it a little bit, but we can figure that out in the background. The logos, we had like something like 2 years ago or something where the two of us we both drew like 8 possible logos and then we took the better ones and refined them and we refound one of them to the point where you're able to see that gray circle with the silhouettes of us. That is the current logo that we have. And I think I initially designed it, but we refined it and we found that that was a great concept for a logo that I don't think a lot of people do, at least all of the time. Um, Thumbnails, I pretty much went over that one a little bit. I've been designing them. Sometimes when it's the episodes that Dom hosts, he'll doodle a thumbnail general idea, and I'll actually make that a reality. So we have that. Now, this last one right here, merchandise.
Hmm.
Uh, we've been,
Well,
we've been slowly thinking of doing that, but in my opinion, we got to get a little bit more established before buying 10,000 shirts or whatever, right?
even
Uh,
then, it's like, who are
I'll
we
let you
gonna
take
have
that.
make it? Yeah, and even then, it's like, who are we gonna have make it?
True. I mean,
I mean, I'm not gonna say where I was like a couple days ago, but there was like a store that apparently you can make your own custom like stuff.
I don't think we'll have anything to worry about, like copyright stuff, because a lot of this, I think we can design it and maybe send it off to like an artist to refine it better. Or, heck, maybe I could refine it my own. But we get there whenever we get there. But in terms of when we start merchandising, I think we have to maybe have, I mean, this might be a long ways down the road, but maybe 100 subscribers on this channel, and we might consider doing a merch line. It'll probably be a scuffed one starting out because, oh, it could just be a shirt that has our logo on it somewhere or a mug or something. Just a beginner sort of merch line idea. If slash when we get bigger, maybe we could branch out and get better designed things or whatever. I mean, I think that's going to be a little bit far down the line, though. How about you?
I could see that by the time when we actually get our own place to live, and by the time we start driving, that way we have the money to like pay, like get companies to make merch for like our channel. You know.
Oh yeah, I definitely know. I mean, there's nothing that says we need some other artist or somebody else to design our like initial phases or whatever, but once again, I think you can agree that that's probably going to be a little bit down the line, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Oh yeah. So, can you think of anything else that we should maybe address all one person who might be listening to this?
In regards to like the future, like we discussed that, right?
We did go over a little. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
is there anything that you might be able to spoil,
Oh, there's
or do
one
you
thing
think we did it all?
I do have one idea for like our like. I'm just trying to think. Oh, I'm gonna say first. It's like I have an idea of what I want to do. Like I want to create like an instrumental intro with my current iPad for like our
Mm,
based
I
on based on it's kind of based on what we did in high school when we made that.
shoot. It was for the oh, it was for
Oh,
the first podcast that we technically had, right?
yes, so
Shoot, that's something we didn't even mention. that we were in the same video production class or whatever for like 2 years,
Yeah,
and then
you
we
brought
did
your.
announcement stuff.
Oh yeah, remember you brought your Casio in.
Yeah,
Oh,
I still have it. It's right there. It's looking at me. But
perfect.
shoot, we didn't even talk about that class or that let's just say classroom because that was one of the times that we actually hung out because we
Well,
were in the same classes. That could be actually a different episode or maybe a shorter segment because I think that the projects that we did in that room, but both for morning announcements and for actual graded assignment, there's some pretty unique stories in that.
yeah, it was like when we. I think that was when the sparks actually lit in regards to yeah, us all hanging out.
Yeah, at least in terms of what things may have changed in our ideas, because we did definitely want to do this sort of thing, but not exactly how we're doing it right now, or at least how we're planning to do other things in the future. We definitely had a different path that we must have spoken about like maybe 30 minutes ago or something. But other than that, I can't really think of anything else that really needs to be said about
Mm,
what what is up with DomJake Studios.
well,
Can
we don't have anything. I don't have anything on the top of my head, but I'm sure we can discuss some of it in the background when we have an idea.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then whenever those ideas get fully fleshed out or even halfway fleshed out, we might even mention it on a video, likely a podcast, because that's all we're doing so far lately. But hopefully we'll branch out with other types of content, possibly merch, possibly the guests like we said before. I think it's about the time that we wrap this up. Hopefully, all of you enjoyed an episode more behind the scenes and more about DomJake Studios. Depending on how you feel, we might plan another behind the scenes episode just like this one, maybe talking about a different topic. Maybe this one ends up being a rare thing. Heck, maybe we never do this again. But thank you for listening to this one. Have an amazing day.
And if anybody has any questions, put them in the comments, and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible, if we, whenever we can.
Which obviously, at the time we're posting this, might be a little bit of time before we get to you because of the holidays. Keeping that in mind, have a great day, everyone.